Chapter 4. Let's start. Jane narrates. From my conversation with Mr. Lloyd, and the overheard exchange between Bessie and Abbott, I drew just enough hope to awaken a silent desire to get well. A change, I felt, was coming. I waited for it in patience and silence. But the change tarried. Days slipped into weeks. Though my health returned, not a word was breathed about school, about escape. Mrs. Reed now watched me with an even colder eye, seldom speaking, yet separating me more decisively from her own children. She moved me into a small closet to sleep alone, assigned me solitary meals, and confined me to the nursery while Eliza, Georgiana, and John moved freely about the drawing room. Still, I sensed she wouldn't long tolerate my presence under her roof. Her every glance at me smoldered with aversion too deep for words. My cousins obeyed her unspoken orders. Eliza and Georgiana barely acknowledged me, and John, in typical cruelty, once tried to strike me again. But the fire of resistance rose in me as before. I turned on him and struck his nose with all my might. Staggering back, he ran wailing to his mother, crying that I had flown at him like a mad cat. I heard her respond sharply, "Don't talk to me about her, John. I told you not to go near her. She is not worthy of notice. I do not choose that you or your sister should associate with her." From the stairhead I shouted back, without forethought, without fear, "They are not fit to associate with me." Mrs. Reed stormed up the stairs and swept me, as one might sweep a cinder, into the nursery. She flung me on the edge of the crib and, her voice shaking with rage, dared me to rise or speak again that day. But I could not be silent. "What would Uncle Reed say if he were alive?" I asked. The words spilled out, unbidden, yet certain. "My Uncle Reed is in heaven, and he sees how you treat me. He, and my father and mother, know what you do. They know how you wish me dead." Mrs. Reed's composure cracked. Her usual steely gaze flickered with something like fear. She stared at me as if unsure whether she faced a child, or something else. But the moment passed. She rallied quickly, boxed my ears soundly, and left the room in silence. Bessie filled the void with a lecture, a scolding that ran an hour long, in which she detailed the wickedness of my soul beyond dispute. I half believed her. Indeed, all I could feel was anger, misery, and shame. November gave way to December, and then to the New Year. Christmas came to Gateshead in its usual splendor, feasts, gifts, parties. But I, of course, was excluded from it all. I watched from the shadows as Eliza and Georgiana dressed for celebration in muslin frocks and scarlet sashes. I listened to music drifting up from the drawing room, the clink of glassware, the rise and fall of laughter. Then, I would slip away to the silent nursery. Though excluded, I wasn't miserable. I had no longing for company that ignored me. If only Bessie had shown me consistent kindness, I would have gladly spent my evenings in quiet solitude with her. But she often left me alone, taking the candle with her, and I would sit with my doll on my knee, peering into the shadows, imagining terrors where the firelight fell dim. When the embers faded, I hurried into bed with my doll pressed tightly to my chest, my only comfort. It seems absurd now, the deep affection I felt for that ragged toy, but it was all I had. It made me feel less alone. Now and then Bessie would return, perhaps to fetch scissors or thimbles, and sometimes, if I was lucky, to bring me a bun or a small cake. On two such nights, she even kissed me good night. In those rare moments, she seemed the kindest, sweetest soul I had ever known. I wished desperately she could always be that version of herself. Bessie was clever, too, quick with her hands, and a good storyteller. She was pretty as well, I thought, dark eyes, black hair, a neat figure. But her temper was quick and her fairness uncertain. Still, I preferred her to anyone else in that house. Then came the 15th of January. It was a cold, clear morning. Bessie was downstairs, and my cousins not yet called to their mother. Eliza, already dressed, was preparing to go feed her poultry, a task she loved, more for the profit than the pleasure. She sold the eggs to the housekeeper and hoarded the coins, keeping precise accounts in a little book. Georgiana, meanwhile, was at the mirror, pinning flowers into her curls. I was making my bed. Bessie had ordered it so. She often employed me as her under-nursery maid now, dusting, tidying, folding. When the bed was made, I went to the window seat to arrange some picture books and toys. Georgiana snapped at me to leave her things alone. With nothing else to do, I breathed on the frost-framed window pane, melting a small hole through which I could peer out. Beyond the glass, the winter landscape lay still, locked in ice. I saw the lodge gates open and a carriage arrive, not unusual at Gateshead. I watched it with vague indifference as it rolled to a stop and the bell rang. Then my attention turned to a tiny robin flitting on the cherry tree by the window. I broke some bread from my untouched breakfast and opened the sash to scatter crumbs. That was when Bessie came rushing into the nursery. "Miss Jane! Take off your pinafore! What are you doing there? Have you washed your hands and face this morning?" I tugged at the window one last time to ensure the robin got his share, then turned to answer. "No, Bessie, I have only just finished dusting," I replied, breathless yet trying to seem composed. "Troublesome, careless child," she snapped. "And what are you doing now? You're all red, up to mischief, no doubt. What were you doing at that window?" But I was spared the burden of answering. Bessie, impatient and flustered, didn't wait for explanations. She hauled me to the washstand and, with brisk, uncaring hands, scrubbed my face and hands with rough soap and a coarse towel. My hair she brushed with a bristly vengeance. Then off came my pinafore. Before I could gather a single thought, she thrust me out of the nursery and ordered, "Downstairs. You're wanted in the breakfast room." Wanted? By whom? I dared not ask. Bessie was already gone, the nursery door shut behind me. For nearly 3 months, I had not once been summoned to that formidable chamber, Mrs. Reed's breakfast room. The mere idea made my knees weak. The grand rooms of Gateshead had grown into terrifying sanctuaries I never dared enter. I stood in the hall, paralyzed with dread, staring at the tall door. 10 whole minutes passed, 10 long, hesitant minutes of trembling in place, until the violent clang of the breakfast room bell jolted me into motion. I had to go in. If you liked this video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe.